Hello, today I want us to look at another theme. I want us to look at something called Midas Touch. I don't know whether you ever heard of that story, the Midas Touch. Actually, there's a song to that effect where there's a guy, whatever he touches turns into gold. So the background of the story is that this guy was so poor and he wanted to be rich. So he consulted the gods. These are Greek myths, and he was granted that power to touch anything and turn it into gold. Okay, the story is long because it ends up where he tragically touches his daughter, who turns into a block of gold. Of course, and there is much more to that. But then, for purposes of a short discussion today, it is the element of understanding that whatever it is that we touch, we leave our signature. You want to begin to understand you have a DNA, and that one is not debatable. Now you know it is there. The doctors can tell you, and even the police. And they only need to have a piece of cloth, or a bit of your saliva, a single hair, and they'll be able to trace whose it was. So that settled, it's very important then to understand what is the signature. Have you really sat down to interrogate the kind of signature you have? What do you leave behind? When you go into groups, and do they become better because you have come into the group, or do they disintegrate? Because there are people who are like that. Wanaenda kwa chama, and the minute they get into that chama, hiyo chama inaharibika kabisa. And maybe because they're not aware, but it's important to understand that even as the world and the environment impacts on us, we also do impact on the environment. And sometimes it can be negative, and unawares we do that. So my prayer this morning is that you get to be a bit conscious. You get to interrogate your signature so that at least it can be a blessing and not a curse. You know, and it's across everything that we do. You get employed into an organization. Is that organization better off because you are there, or since that point in time they now begin to experience challenges? Because instead of touching something and turning it into gold, whatever you touch turns into a block of mud. And you can escalate that to the home. You are a newly married lady, you come into a homestead, unakuta ile familia wametoka kwa familia nyingine. Sasa kwa kule kuja kwako kwa ile familia, are they better off since you came, au umekuwa sasa wewe ndio umeleta mzozano katika ile familia? Because it's good to understand, and it's good to choose whether going forward your signature will be that one of increase, that one of blessing, or for division, disintegration, or even curse. Because these are deliberate things we do, and sometimes you just need to adjust a little and begin to question and beginning to interrogate our signature. It can be taken to a church where you join a particular church that was dead, and maybe through your enthusiasm and your effort, the church revives. And it can be the opposite. You go to a church that is so lively, and before the end of the year, the membership is breaking up. Everybody is going their way, and they can't understand why. Unfortunately, there's a guy who has joined whose signature is destruction. So we need to be conscious, whether it's at the home, leave alone marriage, hata kwenu nyumbani ulikozaliwa. Maybe you are there, you are two brothers, sisters, and the fact you are in that home, is that family better off because of you, or are they worse off because of you? Because kuna mtu anaingia kwa familia anakuwa sasa yeye ndio anaharibu family. What is the signature even in that family? When you came along, is your mother blessed more because you are, au siku hizi hata najulikana na watu ya kotini, because kila mara yako kotini kuna kesi yako, mara yako kwa jela na kuletea chakula. In all her life she has never gone to a police station, but siku hizi imekuwa part of her routine. Unanielewa? Kuwe na kitu nyumbani, kuna challenge, kumetokea ugonjwa, maybe your mother is sick or your father is sick or even a brother. Do you participate in meeting the bill? Au unasema hiyo ni ya matajiri? Because possibly in the home, all of us cannot be endured the same. There are people who have a little bit more than others. Sasa hiyo wewe unajiondoa, unasema hapana, hii ni ya wakubwa. Ni ya wadozi ndio watalipa hiyo bill. Na wewe bado ni wa yule mama, bado ni wa yule nyumba. My friend, can I tell you? None of us is so poor that we can't give anything. Sijui naishi wapi, but if you have lived in town or places where there are many people, you also may have known kuna ile kitu tuna correct ile takataka. The refuse from maybe a town or even those small centers now in the rural areas. There's a place wanapeleka zile takataka wanatupa. If you live in a house, possibly you have been, wewe unafagia kwako nyumba, unatoa vitu vingine unatupa. Have you ever noticed that zile vitu wewe umetupa, kuna watu wanaenda huko kwa hiyo jarari and they are there going through, you may call them chokora, what you do, whatever name you give them, lakini wanaangalia vile vitu, and from that refuse, from hiyo takataka yako, unaona they begin to create a livelihood. So that's tell you, ile takataka wao umetupa bado ni kitu cha maana kwa mtu mwingine. And that's the truth. You might not have money, but you have a lot more than just money. You know, mwalimu wangu alikuwa ananiambia, I have eyes, yes. Of course, I use them to see. But more than that, I have my eyes so that those who do not have eyes can see. And the same too for you. You have legs so that those who are crippled can walk. Nanielewa? So there's something you can do for somebody else. There's always something that you have more than others. None of us is so poor that you cannot lend a hand, you can't give a word of advice, you can't even offer your own physical strength, because una nguvu. Unaweza kujitolea jioni moja, uende kwa mama mzee na umsaidie kulima shamba. You know? But one of the major problem of our people is always looking inside. Na kuwa wewe ni mtu ya kureceive tu. And eventually that will lead you to a depression. Because if you just become a receiver, it hurts your self-esteem. And the Bible is clear. It says, it is blessed to give than to receive. A psychologist will tell you, once you give, you are powerful. You are more powerful than when you receive. You build your ego when you give, more than much better than when you receive. And that is the truth. If you go to a church, are you a taker or are you a blesser? Are you a giver? Unaingia kwa kanisa, you begin a church together with a few people, maybe 10 or so. Mlianza pamoja. Hata kwaya siku hiyo haukuwa na kwaya, haukuwa na intercessors. And over time, you have built the church. The church has grown. Kuna intercessors, kuna watu wa kwaya, sijui kuna watu wa crusade. And you have moved from a bicycle to a pikipiki. Now you're driving a car. But unfortunately, in your church, Mungu amekuja na wamebless. Lakini it's only the pastor and the wife and the children who are blessed. Because siku hizi pastor akona gari. Siku hizi pastor ametoka ile nyumba ya kukomboa, ya kulent, sasa amejenga yake. Siku hizi pastor alikuja hapa na certificate ya KCPE, sasa ni doctor. Siku hizi pastor watoto walitoka public school, wakaenda boarding schools or private. And you cannot trace anything else in that church other than the blessings, and the blessings have been very specific. Zote zimekuja kwa pastor. Wale watu mlianza na kanisa nao bado wako huko, washirika wako, lakini wanaenda mguu. Wale akina mama walikuja hapo wakiwa wasichana wa kwaya, waliolewa wakiwa huko, bado wanapiga mguu. I mean, my friend, surely, what is your touch? Is your touch a touch of increase or decrease? Is your touch a blessing or a curse? Yeah? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Even for those within the corporate world. Kuna kampuni, nasikia story nyingi sana za watu wakisema vile walianza kampuni. They had no office, they didn't have a car. And the story is so sweet. Na walianza na watu wengine, hata watu wengine wako tu kwa hiyo kampuni. Na waling'ang'ana na Mungu akawajia, akutumana. 5 years down the road, the company has grown. These guys now are driving, the directors are driving big black cars. But wale watu walianza nao, hata wale hawana baiskeli. Kisha na maana, kampuni ni yake. You know, he has failed to appreciate that it's the effort of all those other people together that has built the company. Now he talks of growth. Kampuni imekuwa. Na lakini nani amekuwa? Can he put a finger on any one of his staff? Aseme huyu alikuwa hapa, ameinuka amekuja hapa. No. But of course, amepata ofisi, amepata gari, amepata nyumba, na maisha yake yameendelea kunawiri. But he doesn't, his mind does not consider that part of his wealth has been the contribution of these people. If it were his two hands, kama ikikuwa miguu yake miwili na mikono yake miwili, hiyo kampuni hakuna pahali ingeenda. But you see, every one of these employees gets 10, anapewa 2, anabaki na 8. So you know the company grows from the efforts of all these people. And it would be very important for you as directors to begin to appreciate. But hapana kujipiga kifua. I remember one director of a school, and in his meetings alikuwa anaambia walimu wanaonea huruma. In actual fact, hii shule mimi naiweka kwa sababu yenu. Because kila nikikaa nauliza, sasa hii shule ikifungwa mtaenda wapi? And you know, with me I can turn this school into a piggery. Naweza leta nguruwe hapa na niendelee na kupata pesa. Lakini Mungu ni mkubwa. Sitaki kuelezea zaidi. But jamaa ya shule ilikuja ikaisha, ataka kuweka nguruwe, na walimu walipata pahali pa kwenda. Unanielewa? So you have a business, wewe ndio unajenga shule, alafu unaanza kuambia walimu unaijenga kwa sababu yao. Wewe sasa huna haja. Nimeenda nimenunua shamba so that you guys can have something to do, ndio mpate kitu ya kufanya. Yani ni kama hiyo kampuni ikiisha mtakufa. You know, it's good to be honest. Umenunua shamba ni lako. If you have people who are selling for you, they're just going away with the commission. And you're not buying it for them. You're just expanding your business. It's good to be truthful. People got to tell others the truth. Unanielewa? And even as you do that, you must begin to question yourself. I have grown from one level to another. Within my organization, watu gani nimeinua? Hii kampuni ikifungwa saa hii, what would these guys go home with? What can they put a finger for their 10 years of service in my company? Those are important questions. Very, very important. So that at least you begin to appreciate what is your signature when you touch people. Do you grow them? Do you destroy them? Do you build them? You want to see Maraika? And no, people can't see the way you see the world. And that doesn't necessarily mean they are bad people. It's possibly they have a different lens. But when you take that position of leadership, you're a pastor, you're a principal of a school, you're a director of a school, you're a director of a company. The whole thing is no longer yours. You must begin to appreciate wale members wa choir, hata kama hahubiri, they have contributed a lot to the growth of that church. Wale intercessors, wale jamaa wanafagia kanisa. It is the whole of you people, the effort of all those people, which is not even quantified, that has made your church a better church. Pengine watu wakija kwa hiyo kanisa, hata sio wewe sana unawabless. They are blessed by the songs and the hymns which are sung in that church. And you don't sing. It's the guys who are in the choir. That those are the guys you take for granted. As a choir, you are the fathers, whatever names you get there. I think our people, we need to begin to interrogate. What is your Midas touch? When you touch something, when you touch a life, when you touch people, what do they turn to? Do they turn to gold? Or kila kitu naguza kinapinduka kuwa matope? As you move forward, like I've already said, the best way to move is to look inside. Hawa watu ni wengi sana. Ushawaona? Najua wewe ushawaona. And there's nothing we cannot, especially when you're working on ourselves, there's nothing we can't change if you desire to do that. And my prayer is one, if you listen to this clip and it touches you, can your organization start to change from here? Can people in your organization start to count benefits? Can they also start driving if they've been walking? Hata kama ni nduzi. But even if you don't, we are all created for a time. Things, something will happen. And like I say again, we always encourage people to look inside, because that's the only area you have where you can work on. So as we part, interrogate your Midas, interrogate your signature, interrogate your DNA, and my prayer is, it should be, or make it a DNA of blessing, of increase, a DNA that builds people, a DNA that builds organizations, and a DNA that heals rather than kills. I know you can do it. For truly, hii story imesikia, hawa tumeona. Ni kweli umeona ama pastors, umeona ama directors, but most importantly, could such a pastor, could such a director be sitting there listening to me? Could such a director be sitting on your chair? Could such a pastor be sitting where you're sitting? Could such a mother be sitting where, umeolewa juzi, umeenda kwa familia fulani? Could you be sitting, could such a wife be sitting on your chair? We can do it. I know you can. Lastly, if this thing is blessing us, please, would you mind just to click down there and be part of our team? So until the next clip, God willing, let's meet, and I know you can. Let's do this. Asante sana.